Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with, can you believe it, a Command & Conquer Rivals video. Yeah, I know I've not really made much CNC Rivals content recently, and that has led some people to feel that I just don't play the game anymore. That's simply not true. Due to me being 12,000 kilometers away from the game's data centers in Europe, I do tend to get quite a bit of input lag, which means it can be very difficult for me to compete effectively with people like Blade and Alicia and the other top 100 CNC Rivals Tiberium League players. So what I tend to do is I spend the first couple of weeks of a season running silly decks like Kodiaks or Flame Tanks or whatever else it is that the daily bounties suggest that I should run. And I just have fun playing with those units, and it's usually about 2 weeks into the season that I start kicking it up properly. Now anyway, I have been looking at wanting to do a bit more CNC Rivals content, and I went onto the community Discord, and Brian actually suggested why not just showcase some of my replays and talk about what goes on there. Now, recently I've noticed a real trend in people rushing me. I'm getting a lot of people trying to rush me in the early game, and I just wanted to talk about why this is a really bad idea. I wanted to showcase some of these replays and just why this doesn't work, and to explain to those people who are still losing to rushes. Because if people are doing rushes, that means people are still losing. So what we're going to do is essentially load into each of these replays one by one. I am going to be doing this live with pausing and just analysing different bits and that while I talk. And if I stutter or just say something really weird, do bear with me. I'm not used to doing this kind of live content. So here we have Binoator and me on the left. Now I always open up with Riflemen. I open up with Riflemen because they have three hexes of vision. I can already see his base. I can see now that he has a war factory open. There come the bikes, and it's just like, right, okay, cool. I can body block those bikes a little bit so they have to take the long way around. I can move my other units out of the way. This guy clearly, already, he's spent 30 Tiberium, I've spent 30 Tiberium, but I've got 2 units on the field. That bike rush is going nowhere. He's now forced into something like a chem buggy. Now obviously that chem buggy is going to be a bit of a problem for me, hence you've seen I've opened up the heliport. I am just sitting on that waiting just to, like, here, come out there. Now notice I save my Riflemen, I put those onto a pad so I am keeping that missile charging. I have a feeling that this guy's probably going to be trying to use tech if he can, so I'm hitting that. Now what I'm aiming to do here is just stop that rush, but also making sure to keep the pad. I need to make sure that I'm winning, and you'd be amazed at how many people give up on charging the nukes in order just to get a rush. Yes, he's nearly killed my Harvester, but I've got the first missile, so does the first nuke really matter? You see, here I can come in, I can start doing some damage to the units he has pulled out. I really don't want to have that chem buggy flying around, and I do kind of waste a little bit of a Jackson boost on that one. I do go on a bit of a wild goose chase here after it, I think, as well, desperately trying to get it before I realise, hang on, there's a missile squad down there that are just going to punch that in the face, and oh look, there it goes, bye-bye chem buggy. But again, the guy is still insistent that he needs to get my Harvester dead. I don't get why. All that killing that Harvester is going to do is give him a little bit of a bounty. I've already got a nuke ahead of him. I'm probably going to lose this Harvester now, but again, the missile is charging in my favour, and no, actually, I don't lose it. Sorry, it's been a few minutes since I watched this. Again, just focusing on the missile, blocking his units with standard counters. It's like, you know, yeah, okay, they're bike squads and they're chem buggies. There are different units I can use. I always like to have an aircraft. Like in Nod, I tend to run Banshees or laser drones. With GDI, I nearly always have at least either Orcas or Mohawks in my deck as well, for that exact reason of dealing with chem buggies. But ultimately, he spends so much time in that game going after my Harvester that he doesn't bother to look at what units are properly on the pad and actually try to hold those. He loses 2-0. I get 2 nukes, he gets none, because he's more busy and more worried about killing my Harvester than he is about actually winning the game, which is a really dumb way to lose. Now the next 2 games are actually both against the same opponent. Now obviously at the time I didn't know what was in his deck, but here you can see he's actually running a 2-tech deck. So yeah, this guy is either going to be going rushing or going for like double Harvester, and let's watch the replay and you'll see what happens. Now, you'll see again here, I am actually running a Mammoth Tank deck, so I'm looking for either winning the game early without the Mammoth Tank or having that as a late game. And straight here, this guy goes right out of the gate with bikes. I've gone in with militants. I spot the bikes coming, and I try to just do a little bit of body blocking, but I'm a little too slow. I do then spot that he's brought out the cyber wheels, so again, when I'm sending in my missile squad, I'm going to block those cyber wheels, do a little bit of extra damage to those as well. He cannot 2v1 if he wanted to send out another cyber wheel. I move a little bit early there, and those riflemen are actually doing some real damage. Once the cyber wheel threat is taken care of, I can again just focus on getting rid of those bikes. Send in the missile squads, and would you look at that? There's nothing those cyber wheels can do. He's literally got cyber wheels now, a harvester that came out later than mine. I've got a much stronger board presence than he does, more units in the game on the field, and I'm just now making sure that I just keep building those missile squads. Now, for some stupid reason, this guy goes for a tick tank, thinks this is a good idea. All I've been putting forward is missile squads, and that's all I need to be putting forward at this time, because those missile squads are quite happy to be dealing with both the cyber wheels that this guy's putting out and that tick tank. The missile here is probably stalled a little more than I want it to be. The tick tank comes unburrowed. Yes, clearly this guy is looking to try and get my harvester. I'm not having any of that. Let's send in a Mohawk. And his only answer to the Mohawk is a Banshee, which again, I've got laser troops. I think there's a significant part of this replay as well that just really says, what on earth are you doing when you design your deck? Looking at this guy's deck, he is relying on either flame tanks or cyber wheels for his anti-infantry, and that anti-infantry, well, as soon as I pull out missile squads in the early game, or lasers if I was Nod, that's kind of him screwed. If I've got grenadiers, he's got nothing until he gets to flame tanks, and quite frankly, he's not going to get to flame tanks. Here you see at the bottom, the boosted unit I've moved in a very specific way. I've made sure that I've got that in a way that is blocking that bike squad from advancing. My harvester is a little bit fragile. In the top, I'm dancing backward and forward using my missiles and my Mohawks, and I loved this moment. This felt so good. Pop. Bye-bye Banshee. Guy tries to flee and just get the last hit on that harvester. Out comes my missile squad, and the guy just surrenders. Just gives up. He's like, yeah, okay, this isn't working. Of course it's not working, because you started with a rush. That rush, you saw it in that game, the rush just, it stalled early. He failed to get the harvester, he had nothing to throw at it, he had to build his own harvester. Now we're going to go into the third and final replay now. This was against that same guy. Now again, I'm not doing this to mock this Mata Pichones, or however you pronounce this. I'm not doing this to mock him, just to say why this is a flawed strategy. And I hate this map. I hate this map with a passion. I'm probably going to pause this one a bit more, because this had a bit more interesting. So first things first, this guy has just faced me. He knows that I have missile squads in my deck, but his deck is still the same. He has to open War Factory. Now, rather than opening with cyber wheels, which could deal with that threat, he goes straight into the bikes. And again, my missile squad is slow moving, the bikes come round, and oh look, there's not even a harvester there yet. The bike squad comes out, and it's already taking some heavy damage. I've got 2 missile squads on the field, he's got cyber wheels. I can push the missile squads into those cyber wheels and still deal some heavy damage. Now it's safe for me to pull my harvester out. I'm guessing at this point he's probably building his own harvester, because I don't see any new units. Again, those cyber wheels, he can keep pushing them into that little that injured missile squad. I am going to still quite comfortably win that. Here in the bottom right, he can't even commit to this rush, because the bikes are just fragile enough against my missiles. Yes, my missiles are a little bit over level. Well, not over level, but they're a higher level. They're a level higher. He has to keep pulling away, because if he doesn't pull away from the unit, it's going to be dead before it can fire again, which actually is a very good way of using attack bikes as a proper hit and run. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to get those 2 missile squads to box him into a corner. But again, I'm keeping an eye on this left pad here, watching what's coming and trying to make sure that I'm keeping those pads moving, because the most important thing is that the pads do remain charged. That's a bit of a waste, ultimately, I do admit, for me to use the Jackson boost there, but it's just to sort of try and get that unit to move a little bit faster. Again, just move across there, making sure that I'm getting those pads in my favour. I take out the bike squad, I can move into position now. Now, I'll be completely honest, I actually expected the guy to forfeit at this point. I've got no idea, remember, that here he has 2 harvesters. He's kind of given up trying to do a rush, and he's gone for a 2 harvester approach, which means not only do I have a better board presence now, just because I've been spending less Tiberium than he has, and I've got a decent amount of units on the field. But on top of that, I also have a lower population cap. My population cap is currently sitting at around 4 or 5. His is sitting at much higher because of those 2 harvesters. He's gone from one failed idea to a second one. Now, sure enough, out come the cyborgs this time around, punch that stuff out of the sky, and I'm not overly worried about this, because I've seen how this guy plays. It's like, yeah, I can take the hits on the Mohawks and that missile squad. I don't need to go after his harvester. What I am doing is, here in the bottom right, I'm going to pause, I've got my riflemen have got into position there. They've got into position, forcing the cyborgs to go around them, meaning they take more damage while they get into position. He then does the silly thing of Oksana boosting those cyborgs. Oksana boosting, of course, it increases the damage and the movement speed of the unit, but it also increases the damage they take. This means that while those cyborgs are taking damage from my riflemen, they're actually taking significantly more. Again, look at the board in general here. I have got 2 missile squads sitting on the board. I've got a rifleman squad and a single harvester. That harvester is still at more than half health. I've also scored the first missile already. I can afford to lose a second one. I'm not going to, but I can afford to. He's only got attack bikes on the board, which are going to get obliterated as soon as they come towards any of my pads, thanks to me having missile squads, and those cyborgs are currently losing to my riflemen. It's 130 cost cyborgs losing to a 10 cost rifleman squad. Not only that, the cyborgs also are Oksana boosted, so that's 160 Tiberium worth of squad there. That harvester that I've done some serious damage to, I don't care that I haven't killed it, because I don't need that 80 Tiberium bounty. Yeah, sure, here in the bottom right, my mammoth tank, I haven't got it, it's not ready to be built. But look at the missile. Do you really think I need a mammoth tank right now? The point with that harvester on the left-hand side here is not that I've killed it or to kill it, it's the fact that it's no longer harvesting for him. He is no longer receiving Tiberium from that harvester while it's being moved to safety. So he's running essentially with one harvester and suffering the population cap for both of them. Anyway, let's see what happens. So sure enough, the cyborgs come out. They try to get my harvester down. A second unit of riflemen is all it takes. And on the left-hand side, I just body block that left pad until the missile is mine. It's really that simple. This guy is so focused on killing my harvester that he forgets that the entire point of the game is to launch nukes. When you're playing against a rush, all you need to do is just block them. You don't even necessarily need to kill the unit, just stop them killing yours. You see, in a lot of those cases, I put a unit in the way that just stops whichever unit is rushing for my harvester and sends it going around the long way. That then means I've got time to send in an alternative unit, like if against the bikes I can send in missile squads or Mohawks, that kind of thing, just to clear it up eventually. Keep your eyes on the prize, body block where you can, and send in the counters, but most importantly, it's that keep your eyes on the prize. I cannot believe how many people recently have lost to me just because they seemed more interested in killing my harvester than they did on winning the game. Anyway, that just about wraps things up here, guys. Thank you so much for watching until this point in the video. I do hope that you found this somewhat informative or entertaining. If you did find it helpful, do let me know in the comments below. And if you know someone who is really struggling to deal with rushes, like bike rushes or things like that, and they're struggling to handle cyber wheels and that kind of thing, show them this video. Show them and just let me know if that helps at all. You know, I think it's still crazy that here I am in Masters 3. I mean, how... I just think it's crazy that here we are in Masters 2, Masters 3, and there are still people trying to bike rush. Bike rush is a damn good player. Bike rushing is a damn silly strategy. It is not effective, it is easy to counter if you know what you're doing. Just basically do what I do. Block, keep your eyes on the nuke, and win. Anyway guys, as I said, thank you so much for watching, happy sailing, and see you on the battlefield.